Thank you for that riveting consumer update on the sleep habits of the two-toed sloth, Snooze.
You're welcome, Tella. I can't wait to share the investigative report I've been working on about how much water whales actually drink. Changing sea levels threatens us all.
Riveting.
And now, with our weekly WPC1 Farming Minute, we're headed out to a live-action wheat harvest with our on-the-scene journalist, Rusty Gates. Rusty?
Thanks, Snooze, Tella. As you can imagine, no 2 days on a farm are ever the same. There's the planting, the growing, the weeding, and as you can see behind me, the harvesting. I'd like to introduce Harvey Estime. Welcome and thanks for being on our Farming Minute.
Oh, please just call me Harv.
So your name is Harvest Time?
Yeah, why?
Oh, no reason. My first question, sir, what is harvesting?
Well, harvesting is part of the farming process. It's the part where we gather the crops, you put them together, and collect them after they've grown.
So it's the bringing in part. Now, would you say harvesting is easier or harder than the growing part, where you have to squish the seeds and slowly pull the plant out to make it taller?
Well, that's not how it works.
Well, excuse me, but I've seen a seed and I've seen a plant, and I know that the growing part takes something little and makes it big. That looks a lot like work for you to stretch out that little gray seed into a tall, green, leafy bush.
Oh, Rusty, look, the growing part's actually what the Lord is doing. He sends the sunshine, He sends the rain to water the plants, to help them grow. Now, sometimes I will do weeding or fertilizing, but the work of growing is actually all belongs to Him.
Oh, you don't say.
Yeah, in fact, that actually reminds me of a Bible verse, Matthew 9:37 through 38. Jesus talks about the harvest.
I don't remember ever reading about tractors or anything like that in the Bible.
Listen to this. The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore, pray earnestly to the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into His harvest.
I thought Jesus was a carpenter, not a farmer.
Well, it's actually a metaphor. It's a picture that helps us understand something. The story tells us that Jesus looked up and saw a crowd of people who were willing and ready to listen to His message of love. Now, they were ready to be told the truth of the gospel, kind of like full-grown plants and crops, just waiting for the farmer to collect them. Someone had to do the telling to harvest them.
Wow, it almost sounds like the harvest was people.
Now you're getting it. Now, here's a question for you. What happens if there is no one there to harvest a ripe, ready crop?
I have no idea.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's not good. I mean, when that happens, crops can get disease and insects and mold and mildew, lots of problems. So, you know the reason Jesus tells us to pray for plentiful workers is to share the gospel message. It's that He desires all of His people to be saved and to come to the knowledge of the truth. And that comes from 1 Timothy.
Well then, we should have run out weeks ago and collected all the crops early, right? I mean, like just you really strong and you can blow up this tiny starter pumpkin into a full-size pumpkin, right?
No, that's the Lord's timing, all right? Remember, the growing part, it's all about Him. Now, sometimes we plant the seeds, we tell people the truth about the first time and introduce them to the Lord, but sometimes we get to be there for the harvest when someone dedicates their life to Christ and asks them to be their Savior, but it's actually God who is doing the work.
Okay, so what's this laboring part then? The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few, therefore, pray earnestly to the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into His harvest.
While laborers in this case can be anyone who works together to help them show and tell someone who Jesus is and to tell them how much that He loves them.
Well, I can do that.
Oh, you sure can. And in many ways, working together, others work together to do that too. Planting and watering seeds all along the way. Now, it might be a Sunday school teacher, it might be a pastor, a friend, even your mom and dad. But in many places around the world, it's actually someone special doing a job. And that job for God is called a missionary.
Hey, I know about missionaries. Matter of fact, my church is doing a missions conference really soon.
Really? That's exciting.
I think so too. And I want to know more, Harv, about our Farming Minute has turned into a Farming 5 Minutes. Thanks for joining me. And be sure to tune in next time. For now, we've got to take a short break, so a word from our sponsors.
Is your fish tired of eating sandwiches every single day? Try Gill's Fish Food, a fresh, flaky combination of nutrients and vitamins that fish love. Gill's friend, Boomcat, says it makes all the fish he steals from the aquarium taste like, hey, Boomcat, you can't eat the fish. Get out of here. Don't you know Gill is friends with a shark? Gill's Fish Food, the baked flake you shake over your fish lake.
Snooze! Never mind. Well, that was today's Farming Minute with Rusty Gates. Next up, the weather.
Today's weather report is from Sam and Lizzie Goodman, coming to us live from Germany.
You gotta wake up, man. Drink some more coffee or something.
Thanks, guys. Welcome to the weather studios here in Munich, Germany. Today, it's pretty warm and cozy. Probably a lot like your weather there. Except, of course, we have the mountains. And as a professional, I can tell you those Alps do make my job more complicated. But I am a professional. Of course, speaking of the Alps, I do believe my daughters, Katie, Sophie, and Molly, are up there right now. Girls, tell me, how's that clear, warm weather that I promised you?
It's really nice up here, Dad. The view's amazing. You should come up after you finish your report.
It's nice up here, but I'm glad I have my hot Kinder Punch.
Dad, you promised there wouldn't be any snow today. But it's like this every winter. Can we just come home now?
You know, I couldn't help but overhear Rusty and Harv talking about the work of missionaries. I'm not actually a full-time remote weather reporter for WPC1. I'm a missionary with Mission to the World. My wife Lizzie and I have the privilege of working here in Munich, Germany. Currently, she's reporting on site from downtown. Lizzie, besides predicting the weather, what else do we do here?
Thanks, Sam. Well, folks, I sure am glad my husband is not a professional weatherman. His predictions are only right about 30% of the time. Warm and sunny? Not a chance. It's freezing out here. Fortunately, his real job is being a missionary, and he is much, much better at that. We get to serve here in Germany, helping with church planting, teaching, and evangelism. We're involved in men's and women's ministries. We sing in quartets and in choirs by way of outreach. And during COVID, we've also started trying to build relationships with local bakers and restaurant owners to encourage them in these difficult times economically. Work looks very different right now during COVID, but we still are called to be light and to serve where God has put us. So God will bring the fruit of the ministry. And it reminds us how important it is to remember that Jesus never leaves us or abandons us, even when times seem very hard.
Thanks, Lizzie. You know, she's correct. We do need to be reminded that Jesus is always at work, even in the hard times. And just like there, the COVID epidemic has created some enormous challenges here as we attempt to minister to friends and neighbors. We're always trying to think of creative ways to love the people around us because Jesus loved us first. In fact, I'd appreciate it so much if all your viewers would remember to pray for that. I see examples of the verse Rusty read about the harvest being plentiful all the time. Everywhere we look, we can see people who need Jesus. People who may have had a seed planted or might be waiting for the very first time to hear God's message of hope and forgiveness. As a missionary, I'm one of the many laborers that God uses to bring in this harvest. Well, it looks like sunshine with only a touch of snow tomorrow here in Munich, Germany. And that's all for me now. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Mr. Goodwin. I'm Snooze McGee.
And I'm Tell Stories. You're watching WPC1. Tune in next week to learn more about laborers for the harvest.
Brought to you by God is Love Production.